Hi, thank you for coming back. Lauren Heistad, still working my way through. We're still in the second book, Evolving Your SOULworks. This is chapter 42. It is called Godspeed. How I managed to get back to Canada during that trying time of watching a dear friend attempt to take their life, I will never know. Other than to say it was by the grace of God and the help of many, many angelic souls, both in physical form and in the spiritual realm, that guided me home. I was very thankful and aware that despite the circumstances, I was flying home to an unsuccessful attempt to take one's life and not a successful one. Thanks be. Thanks be to God. During the flight, my guides started quoting scripture again. In particular, it was Revelations 12, verse 17, where the dragon was enraged at the woman who had flown away and so made war against her family and those who held the testimony of Yeshua. They also talked to me about what they called the abomination that causes desolation. Truth. I remember thinking I had no idea what that was or what it meant. I remember being quite angry they even brought it up. But that I was also very certain it had likely just taken place. I started to think about how my life was unfolding and how I could not seem to stop this physical manifestation of the Bible. I couldn't. And I'm good at manifesting. What I did know for sure was that it was happening, that I definitely needed some help and support to help get me through. While flying home, I began to formulate a plan to gather some like-minded people with pure heartfelt intentions and the healing capacity to help provide the strength and support to my family. I decided to utilize an already posted workshop that I was planning to teach and summon whoever was able to hear my call and plea for help. I simply put my thoughts out to the universe. I did, with the intentions to start talking about what was happening to my people and myself during these very turbulent times, and ask for healing energy, protection, support, and the strength needed to find inner peace. I asked my guides for assistance on how to stop this battle or to resolve it. I was told it would be through writing my next book and using my knowledge and words for strength that I would eventually end the cycle of this age-old, outdated story and low vibrational existence of the I mentality. And just a reminder, I was in the middle of it. I wasn't above it. I was smack in the middle of it. it was further confirmed this was why I would be taking time off. Remember? My guides told me the night before any of this started to go down that I'd be taking time off work. I actually hate when they're right. I appreciate the foresight, but there I was at the college enjoying life and learning and expanding my own awareness, and then I got sucked back into the biblical drama. And not only me, but it affected people around me, which means it had left just my personal life path and started to affect others, and that's not cool. Nope. So, again, it was further confirmed this is why I would be taking time off, so I could write, gain clarity, and take care of my loved ones. Now, when I got home, once I was able to ensure everyone was okay, I went to work on figuring out exactly what I was dealing with. Now, the term, the abomination that causes desolations, is the final act of war or disgrace or horror from dark energy, of which I've already explained we're all a part of, that causes a state of complete emptiness and sorrow from the Christ energy, which then leads to the final battle of light and dark depicted in Revelation. I learned the final battle would be won through words, just as my guides had always told me. I further read that I would start to gather people, right? I would gather in my tribe for support shortly after the abomination that causes desolation occurred. Now, scholars argue whether this assembly occurred 30 to 45 days after the abomination. Actually, it was right in the middle, and my plans for creating a support system were well underway before I ever realized it was prophesied to do so. I also read an essay that interpreted the book of Revelation. The document observed there were 5 battles between light and dark during the tribulation period. Knowing I was already on my 4th battle, I was thankful, yet scared there was still one more to go. I was grateful, very grateful, that each time a battle came up, I always found the strength and forgiveness to send love and light and to show compassion to myself and others that are unaware of what their inhibited energy force and thought processes were doing to this world. I was not so confident I would be able to do it a 5th time. The author of this essay was questioning why the battle lasted so long. He posed the question, why does the Christ energy keep giving dark energy chance after chance to change? Good question. I know why. I do. The battle has been going on for eons because the dark energy represents everyday people whose egos have gotten the better of them. those who have gone to the dark side are our friends, our families, our communities, and aspects of ourselves. Don't forget to put yourself in the equation. I had to. For do not fool yourself into thinking you are above this state of mind. We all move into this role from time to time. Truthfully, the battle continues because of our lack of awareness. Fact. And I hypothesize it is also because we do not want to leave ourselves or anyone else hanging in this dark state of being. In my opinion, there is no time for losers in the battle of light and dark. We must all rise to the occasion and become unified. It's the only way. Then my guides flashed to the Tower Tarot card that had been pointed out during my reading overseas. Remember? Just before all of this went down, I was told there would be a lot of upheaval happening in my life right away, and that I was to trust that all was unfolding as it was meant to. It's hard to trust sometimes when we're in the middle of turmoil, isn't it? Yep. I was also told I was not to give up in that reading. Do you remember? I was not to give up because humanity had been waiting far too long for this shift to happen. The Tower card was represented by a bolt of lightning, similar to what I had used that night during the visions. The lightning was taking down the Tower of Babel that represented all the old, fearful, and dark systems of the world, and is referenced in the Bible right after the dragon goes after the woman's family and those hearing her testament. Yikes, hey? Some days I have no idea how this came to be my life, or how I keep symbolically and physically living it out. But I do. While speaking with Sarah after arriving back home, I questioned what had gone through her mind that night. Her answer was the same as I had heard in the visions. She wasn't sure. She wasn't even sure. Her day had been a good one, and she was busy making plans for a friend's upcoming surprise party that weekend. Then she became severely anxious and depressed, followed by thoughts of taking her life. She indicated she was scared I was too far away to help her, and so she followed through with the idea that presented itself. End of the story. Thankfully, it was not the end of her story. Now, as she talked about the accounts, my guides flashed to that large blue bird I had seen beside her that night, and also flashed strangely to an old record album from years back. Intrigued, I went to work scanning the record label for guidance. I did. The last song's lyrics brought me to my knees. The song made reference to being protected by the Lord, whether you are near or far away. To not place your worries on what might have been, but instead to look forward to what would be. And it also referenced bluebirds and better days yet to come. Now, if I can take it outside of the traditional church perspective for just a minute, basically, this song reflected exactly what I had both witnessed and conveyed. It did. For the most part, while continuing to endure biblical accounts, I know a fact that I held the awareness and heart resonance of the Christ conscious energy. I do. However, there were many days I questioned this reality, and also a few days that I didn't. Right? Many days I doubted where I stood within this grand scheme of the unfolding drama. There are still many days I question why me at all. Why me? Understand that regardless of what role I play, I'm not looking for recognition. I'm not. I don't believe it's mine to be had. The more experiences that have unfolded, the more I have come to realize we all have the capacity to represent the Christ or Antichrist energies. In other words, and taking it out of biblical context, we all have the potential to represent a Christ conscious energy where we act with compassion, love, and understanding. But we also each hold the potential to slide into the Antichrist consciousness level, the energy that is much more self-centered, self-serving, and self-absorbed. We all have the capacity to be both. And we all have the capacity to choose one over the other every single moment of every single day. It is our conscious choice to select what role we represent. There is not one single person on this earth that is holier than holy. There's not. Here to save the world. Nor is there any one person that is evil beyond recognition, destined to be the demise of our existence. Nope. Sorry, folks. We contribute to and make this change collectively. And collectively, we must be the ones to all change. As the world enters this time of great tribulation, and just a very quick reminder that I wrote this in 2017, so from my perspective, we're coming out of it. But anyways, at the time of writing this, I was observing how many Antichrist energies there were rising to the surface, as if they're vying for their time, knowing it's short. I'm also watching many souls shift. I am more into the Christ conscious role of showing much more love and compassion to the lack of awareness in this world. God willing, and human conscious pending, we will watch those who predominantly come from the Antichrist vibration begin to balance out. We will all begin to balance out and become more aware of how selfish thoughts, narrow-minded viewpoints, or fear-based doctrines are projecting chaos into the world. Evolving your soul works. If you have suppressed knowledge in this life or another for the betterment of yourself above others, you have helped represent the Antichrist energy. I assure you, we've all done it. If you have been jealous or envious of someone's success over your own, then you have contributed to the Antichrist energy. I'll also put a checkbox on that one too. We've all been there. If you have put yourself and your own development ahead of all others, and have literally stepped on others to get what you want or to prove yourself right, then you have represented the Antichrist energy. Yep, hard pill to swallow, isn't it? But we've all been there on some way, shape, or form. If you are too proud to see your wrongs, if you have done wrongs and yet continue to do them, if you have spent time pointing out other people's wrongs and are in constant judgment of their inner journey instead of focusing on your own, it's easy to do. However, then you have represented the Antichrist energy. And we've all been there. So stop pointing fingers. If you have brought forth knowledge and understanding despite what others may think of you, then you've helped represented the Christ energy. We've all had moments of bravery like that, haven't we? If you've put people's best interests ahead of your own and shown compassion to others and their circumstances, then you've helped represent the Christ energy. There, see? I knew you've done it. If you've not only sent a prayer to help someone in need, but also consciously held the intention to help that someone, then you've represented the Christ energy. Yep. Honor when you've done things like that. See? The balance is there. If you put others' needs ahead of your own, if you remember to care for yourself as much as you care for others, if you remember, I've already said that. Maybe I need to say this twice because people never understand this. It's okay to care for yourself. And in fact, you have to at minimum the equal capacity that you would help others. If you have given your time and energy to someone in need, we all have. Why wouldn't we count that? If you've gained enlightenment but remained humble, it's possible. In fact, it's the only way. Can't gain enlightenment without being humble. If you have considered the collective good as opposed to only your own, if you have reflected on how you could make the world a better place, if you have honored others for the choices they have made, even if they weren't ones you would have made yourself, if you have honored your ways but also acknowledged the ways of others, if you have forgiven those who may not deserve to be forgiven, loved those who've shown none back, sent light without judgment or criticisms to those who continuously try to bring you down, then you have helped represent the Christ energy. Now, the Antichrist consciousness may currently dominate our planet, whether we wish to admit it or not. From my understanding, back in 2017, it was on the rise for a while. Short while. More shocking is the reality that some current teachings and philosophies, whether new or old, are fooling people into staying within this vibrational state of being. As I've strived in the past to show how our positive thoughts and intentions make ripple effects into this world and help co-create our reality, then one must look at the opposing force. We have to look at the opposing force that ripples out into our very existence. We must also become fully aware that every single one of our thoughts, words, and deeds affect this world. Did you hear me? All of them. We cannot be light workers or Christians or Buddhists or what have you, only 25% of the time, or 50% of the time, at the risk of repeating myself. It is simply not good enough to understand we are all connected. We must start acting like we are. Truth. We cannot hide from the facts. We cannot remain naive and tolerate the misconceptions that have been taught in the past and expect any one person to get us out of this mess. It's time to take off your rose-colored glasses and see the world for what it is and the contributions we make to it every single day. It's time to disturb the silence so that one day, we may finally all find that inner and outer peace we are looking for. Your move. Disturb the silence. There are many light workers out there afraid to speak their truth and bring clarity to all the misconceptions that have ruled our world for far too long. In the past, many things have been blamed for darkness, including connecting to the spirit world through mediumship, opening in conscious awareness, utilizing gifts only deemed worthy to the elect, or my personal favorite, the Antichrist. And that big, ugly beast called the devil. No. It is not any one practice, entity, or person that creates darkness. It is the individual choices and heart-centered placements of each and every soul on this earth that collectively contributes to this force. The dark is not an obscure power brought on by connecting to the spirit world. Are you kidding me? Rather, it is a force brought on by lack of awareness or shadowy motives, and can literally show up in anybody within any system. Any system. It's time to call a spade and speak the truth regardless of your own fears or the fears of those around you. It's time to disturb the silence. I've always been a shit disturber. Ask for help. I personally do not think keeping your troubles to yourself demonstrates strength. Not at all. I believe strength comes from recognizing you can't always handle the load all on your own, and being humble enough to ask for support. When I brought my support group together via my workshop, I didn't gather them as a teacher looking to impart wisdom, not even close. I did so as a fellow workshop participant looking for support and understanding. Do not be afraid to call to the ethers for help. You may be surprised as to who will show up at your door. Stand in your light. It's true that I believe we're in those prophesied times and we've been working through that great tribulation. However, we are also in times of great transformation. Of course we are. This is not a drill. It is not a drill. This is exactly what we have been training for and evolving towards for ages. Upheaval is in the air, definitely, because we are evolving the world. As we move out of our comfort zones of a lower vibrational existence to a higher one of heart resonance, we will witness many changes, not all of which may seem good. However, I ask you to trust everything is working out as it's supposed to. And whatever you do, don't give up. Do not give up. The world has been waiting for this shift for far too long. Next, believe in yourself. If you're sitting there right now, worried about what role you're playing, in other words, if you're acting out of a Christ consciousness awareness or an Antichrist consciousness awareness, breathe easy, my friend. Breathe easy. I find those who have the heart to at least worry about if they are doing the right thing are always those who are mindful of what they are doing to themselves and others, and at the very least care enough to strive to change their actions and reactions. Again, it's not to say we do not all slide into both scenarios from time to time. Of course we do. However, if you take the time to worry about where your vibration is at, then you are likely already sending out good vibrations for the most part. Nobody's perfect, remember? Do not go into fear. Just believe in the light that is within you to shine forth. And lastly, find your strength in states of desolation. Find your strength. We all have times in our lives. We definitely all have times in our lives when we feel completely empty and in grief for an event or situation that has transpired. Do not let these turning points bring you down. Don't do it. Instead, learn to use them as a catalyst for change. Use them as an opportunity to vow it will never happen again. Use it as an incentive to defend yourself and your visions of hope for this world. I don't believe my moment of abomination was unique. I don't. I believe we all have moments in time that makes us take inventory of life and decide it's officially time to stand up for what we believe in. Now is one of those times. Stand up. I'll see you there.